Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review on the What If Matteo Guendouzi Objectives card. We're going to run through the card's details, stats, clips, summary, and what you need to do to get your hands on him. Before we get into all of that, if I could ask you guys to please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when I upload, and comment down below what your thoughts are on this card and if you will be grinding him out. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So guys, this is the team that I played, Matteo Guendouzi, and I played him in the 4-2-3-1 in that DM spot next to Curtis Jones, playing in behind that attacking midfielder in Raul. And guys, first impressions, this card is okay, guys. I wouldn't say he's an amazing card as he looks on the face of the stats, and I mean, no card that they ever give out for free will be amazing, but this card is pretty decent. It's not as good as some of the other cards. I think if you stack it up against other cards that have come out, and there's one in particular that I have in mind that we will get to, and I think this card doesn't quite live up to that. Without further ado though, let's get into the review. Matteo Guendouzi, 6'1", medium high work rates, right footed, 3-star skill moves, and 3-star weak foot. So two really bad factors about this card: the weak foot and the skill moves for you skillers out there. Now for me, of course, that doesn't really matter as much, but I can appreciate the skill moves do help a lot in this game. For some of you guys, the 4-star weak foot is a big one for me because I can't just ping passes around with his left foot as easily as I want to with his right foot. Other than that though, he's got good size, good work rates as well, and good body type as well. He's very big in the game as well, so that's nice to have. 4 games played, 2 goals scored, and 1 assist. So again, not a bad return, especially running deep from midfield. He was that transitional player for me in midfield. As well as Curtis Jones, they took turns in coming forward and going back as well, so really nice to have that in him too. In terms of player details, guys, I put an engine on him just to help out his overall playmaking ability in that midfield. You could of course go with an anchor or a shadow or something that would boost his defensive capability, but I feel like he's very stiff and needs that help from the engine chemistry. Which brings us into his attribute details. The key pros of this card, guys: the short and long pass, both absolutely fantastic. And his aggression and stamina are pretty decent too, considering how well he plays in that midfield. I do think he's got bundles of energy in that midfield and really does allow you to be a bit more carefree with this card and how you play. I do think his long shots were okay. I don't think they were anything special, but again, they were pretty decent. In terms of the cons, guys, his speed is a real factor that needs helping out there. That's again why I gave him the engine. And the dribbling, he felt very stuck in the mud, guys, and I think it's because he's a big body build, and of course he is quite tall, and therefore with that comes a little bit of stickiness in terms of how big he is compared to those other smaller, leaner players. So the agility and the balance and the reactions all really affected him badly. The ball control again was also quite poor, so you do need to boost a lot of elements around his dribbling, and unfortunately even with an engine I did still feel like that was the case. So a really big con in terms of that, guys, and I think that's really something that holds this card back from being what I want it to be. In terms of the player traits, guys, we've only got the long passer trait. Would have liked the playmaker trait in there, but otherwise no other traits to speak of. So without further ado, we're going to get into what you guys need to do to get your hands on him. So guys, getting into the Guendouzi requirements, what you need to do to get your hands on him: score a brace, which is 2 goals in 2 separate matches using Bundesliga in the What If Classic friendly mode, score in 3 separate matches using midfielders, assist 5 goals using French players in the What If Classic, win 5 matches, and score in 10 separate matches using Bundesliga players. Now guys, the easiest way that I found to do this was to go out and get those players like Moussa Diaby, Christopher Nkunku, and then get a Bundesliga striker up front as well, and that was just the easiest way to rattle out those 5 assists. Now bear in mind, guys, the 5 assists can be done all in one game, so if you do get someone who's willing to work with you, then you can get that done very quickly. And also the braces as well, very easy to do. A lot of people are playing a 1-goal rule in this game mode, so if you do need to get a brace, try and find someone that will do that with you. It may well be easier to do it that way. The only thing I think you guys may find a bit boring is the score in 10 separate matches using Bundesliga players. That's a bit of a drag, but nowhere near as much as those league players are. So I think this overall, guys, is fairly easy to get your hands on this card, and it's a fairly quick one as well, given what he could become with the boost. Of course, we'll get more into that in the summary because it could come with some real difficult conditions to it. But overall, guys, I think getting this card, the main point of this part of the video, is very easy to do. And now that we've covered all of that, we're going to get into some of the clips that I got with him. So guys, getting into some of Matteo Guendouzi's clips, and what you guys are going to see here is his general ability to play all parts of that midfield game, less some of the shooting and some of the pacier parts of it. So guys, in general, I think Matteo Guendouzi is an okay box-to-box player. I think he's capable of doing a lot, but I think there are a lot of shortcomings on this card. Now the first thing I want to get into, guys, and we'll start off positive, is his defending. His defending is pretty decent, guys, and combine that with his ability to be quite physical in that midfield, given his size as well. I think this card plays really well on the defensive side. Not really well, just well. He does well in terms of getting into the tackles, getting in the way, making the right plays defensively, and that's nice to have, guys, in a defensive midfielder. I think this card is okay for that. Now, getting into the next best thing about this card, which is probably for me his passing, and although that is his highlight stat on this card, I do feel like his passing is not the standout stat, rather the tackling and the defending is. This card is pretty good at passing, actually. I find that his range is pretty good. His first time passing is very good as well. His ability to find a pass and pick out a pass, even when it does seem a little bit ridiculous to try, is very good. However, guys, I would say that he is hampered a lot by the cons that we're going to go into now. Now, the first one is, of course, that pace. He does lack a lot of pace, and that means that, guys, when he's transitioning through that midfield, as you guys can see here, he doesn't move as fast as you would like him to, and often you have to resort to his passing or use other facets of his game in order, mostly his size then, in order to be able to create chances or move around with the ball or get the ball going up the pitch fast enough. And for me, guys, that's a real problem, because this is supposed to be a transitional player that moves between the defense and the attack. So to have to rely on his passing or overly rely on his passing means that you do misplace quite a few as well. Now, guys, the next thing I want to get into is his dribbling. Now, his dribbling feels very clunky, and this shouldn't be a surprise given that Matteo Guendouzi is quite a big build, quite a solid player in all regards as well, and therefore his ability to be quick and maneuverable on and off the ball is hampered a lot by that. I do feel like that this card struggled a lot when he was on the ball in those tight spaces. Open spaces, of course, and moving with them, he's fairly easy to do that with, but in the closed tight spaces, it is very difficult. Now, guys, getting into the next part, which is his shooting. His shooting is just okay. I wouldn't say that it's a particularly standout stat. I wouldn't say that it's particularly bad or good. It's just one of those stats that you just have to get on with and use as and how you can. Now, again, that might be a slight problem for you guys who want to play him as that transitional midfielder or the one arriving late on the edge of the box. He does have decent long shots and shot power, but overall, guys, I don't think that's enough to justify the shooting being okay on this card. Now, guys, one thing I do want to mention is that he is very similar to that moment's Sandro Tonali, and I don't know if he is likely to get an upgrade because Hertha are in a really bad patch of form right now, and he really might struggle to get those 6 goals in 5 games. So, guys, that's something to bear in mind as well, that question whether this grind is worth it for you. It's, of course, a first owner card, but he isn't as good as a lot of midfielders, and he does struggle a little bit in terms of being capable in that midfield. We're just going to show you the couple of goals that I scored with him. Now, the first one there, of course, fantastic shot power, and this one here, a lovely finesse from outside the box. Nice long ping. How about that? What a hit. So, guys, getting into this final Matteo Guendouzi summary, it doesn't cost you anything, of course, just your time that you have to graft to get this card. The key stats, of course, that passing stat, very good and generally okay in terms of physicality, defending, dribbling, and passing. The rest of his passing and shooting, his long shots are pretty decent as well. But overall, guys, I think there's a lot that holds back on this card back, sorry. The 80 agility and 77 balance are really poor, and just in general, guys, his movement feels very, very stiff. He does feel like he needs a big helping hand in that dribbling department. If we do stick an engine on him, you guys can see what that does to his card. I mean, his passing becomes even better. I don't even know if his passing really needs it that much. Maybe this would be better focused elsewhere in terms of building this card up and using him in a different way. Maybe something like a marksman would help him more, because then, of course, you can start pinging them from range and helping your player out in terms of dribbling. You know, guys, there's a whole bunch of ways I would recommend fixing up this card, but I do think that dribbling is criminally important if you are going to fix that. That would be the number one thing I would say to fix. I don't think his passing needs that much. His physicality you make do with. His defending maybe as well does need a bit to help. So if you look between these 4 stats here, the pace, the shooting, the dribbling, and the defending, I think that's where you'll find the greatest joy in terms of chemistry style. In terms of similar players, guys, now I do think he's very similar to this Lucas Leiva. I think he does have a little less the craziness to charge forward, which is a big factor for me in that Lucas Leiva. Please do check out the review if you haven't seen it. This Daniel Vaz as well, of just a card that's okay at everything, not particularly great at anything. I think this Lucas actually is a very good defender, so maybe it's unfair to compare Lucas to him. I think this Daniel Vaz is a slightly better version of this Matteo Guendouzi. Now, here is an interesting card. It's the one I wanted to talk to you guys about earlier in the review, which is Sandro Tonali. Now, this was also a free card that was released, and you guys can see very comparable stats in terms of how the level that they're able to play at, and also very similar builds and play style in general. This Sandro Tonali is a level above Matteo Guendouzi in terms of how he's able to play. I do think Guendouzi is far short of this card, and that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about, was that in terms of objectives card, this card is a little underwhelming, and given the way that Hertha Berlin play and their lack of goals, I've struggled to see how this will get to an 89, and if that's the case, then he really will be a very poor card to use. He won't be much fun to use at all, and he wouldn't make it into a lot of your guys' teams, even if he was sticking at this 87 rated player. So guys, that is really something to bear in mind. In terms of linkability, of course, as well, you've got a perfect link to Lucas Toussaint at Hertha. You've got links to all these French icons, and of course links to other French players in the Bundesliga: Alassane Plea, Dio Upamecano, Kingsley Coman, Moussa Diaby, Christopher Nkunku, Matheus Cunhas from Hertha Berlin as well, Kingsley Coman as well, Nordi Mukiele. Loads of players in there that you guys can link to, so nice linkability options. Unfortunately, guys, would I say this card is worth the grind? No, I would not say this card is worth the grind. It's the first one that I'm going to say is not worth the grind. He is worth the grind from the perspective of getting yourself another Bundesliga player that you can use for icon swaps and first owner squads and things like that. But guys, if you're grinding him to put him in your team and linchpin your team off that card, I would 100% not recommend doing that. I don't think this card is worth the time, and I think you're better off spending your time trying to work towards that league player Neves or that future stars Fofana. You're better off putting your time into that and getting a player there that is probably going to deliver more for you, just in terms of being a lower rated player that can do more. Because honestly, guys, I struggle to see how Hertha are going to get these goals. If Hertha do get these goals, then it's a different story, guys. He could be a much better player then. But overall, guys, if he stays at an 87, I really don't think it's worth the grind. So it's really down to you guys whether you think you want to go for that grind and take the chance on Hertha getting those 6 goals in 5 games. Hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did, please do smash that like button. Until next time, I will see you all in a bit.